Moving on, we're now going to talk about page element guidelines, which is a lot more prescriptive. So there'll probably be less discussion about them. So let's have a look at these. So links, search box, your home link and breadcrumbs, etc., etc. We're going to go through each of these step by step, one by one, and there'll be guidelines for each. So links. Of course, the most important thing is that the links on your site A need to stand out and B need to look like links. The very simple way of doing this is to make them blue and bold. If you want to add underlining in there, then go fish. Have yourself a party. But ordinarily it's blue and underlined. It has to be at least 2 of underline, bold and colour. Just one, this is the principle of redundancy we talked about earlier, one of them is not enough. If all the text on your site is black and some of it's blue, that's too subtle. That won't stand out enough. So it would have to be blue and bold to look like a link. In order to behave like a link, when the cursor rolls over it, there should be some sort of state change. I don't care what it is, blue to a colour, or bold to not bold, whatever it is. Interactive stuff changes when I put my cursor on it. That's how I know I'm going to be able to click on it. Therefore, by implication, you don't want anything that I can't click on to change its state when I roll over it, because it will confuse me. Also, links should have a visited, unvisited state, which typically, nowadays, is bold blue for unvisited and not bold blue for visited. In the olden days, it used to be blue and purple. I still hanker after the blue and purple days personally, but that's because I'm old school, old-fashioned. Language, this is an important one for search engine optimization reasons and for accessibility reasons and for usability reasons. The words in your link text should seek to make sense out of context and sum up the page or the thing that it is pointing to, so that if I only read the link text in isolation, knowing it was a link, I'd have some sort of idea what it was pointing to, the sort of information it was pointing to. So what's not good is click here, more info, full article, etc., etc. That's like death for search engines, not very good for accessibility, people using screen readers, and also, of course, for usability, for regular sighted audience. They see a link, they look at the link because it stands out, because it's blue and it's bold, and if what it says is click here, they have to read the piece of text before or after it to try and piece together what it is you're linking to, which is obviously a piece of work I don't want to have to do as the audience, because I'm lazy. And I have the right to be lazy because you're trying to sell stuff to me. So it's your problem, not mine. Search boxes should be about 25 characters long. Again, people have done PhDs on this. It's amazing, but it's true. Luckily they did, and we don't have to. So it's about 25 characters long. There would ordinarily, you need a action button to the right of the box. That action button says search. You have therefore provided something to click, and you have provided the label for the whole box that says this is the search box. So you've done 2 jobs in one. That's because you're clever. And that should be located at the top right of every page. As we saw in that wireframe with the e-commerce example, that's where people expect search to be located. So unless you've got a particularly strong reason for putting it somewhere else, top right's normally the place to go with search. You can see what I was telling you. These are very prescriptive, simple bits that just follow these rules, you'll be fine. You don't have to really think about it. Home, the logo, which is normally top left of your design, is a clickable link to your home page. You'd be surprised, not everybody realizes the logo is a clickable link to the home page. So your navigation should probably also consider having a link called home, a textual link called home. Because I have seen usability testing sessions where people have been asked to go back to the home page and haven't clicked the logo but have hit back 10 times because they could see no other way of doing it. Which is fine, the site wasn't designed for them, so have a text link, then it will be designed for them. The breadcrumb, the breadcrumb is normally appears at the top of the screen, and it's a series of clickable links that tell you your location in the site. So if you imagine the site in a folder structure, you would be in website /services /project management /benefits /case study. And case study is the page you're on. All of these others are the hierarchy of where the page lives, and these other sections, or the name sections, would be clickable text links back up the tree, as it were, to the root, which is home. They are not the path you took to get there. You could have got to this page any old how. This is where you define the page lives in your site, in the sitemap sense of the word. So that's the breadcrumb, named after Hansel and Gretel, of course, and you can see how it's very useful because it tells you what the information you're looking at relates to in terms of the hierarchy. It provides you access, one-click access to lots of levels of the site hierarchy because they're all links, and ordinarily It starts top left, so if this was our website, this would be the logo. It would start here, and it would run left to right. So it would say home, services, project management, benefits, case study, etc., etc. So that's just the breadcrumb trail. Also good for search engines. Representing choices. Again, this is simple stuff, but just so you don't even have to think about it. A checkbox should be used if the audience can or cannot choose to check any number of the options. So if there are 6 options, and you can choose 0, 1, for anything from 0 to 6 of them, then you use a checkbox for each of them. That's quite simple. If, however, you can only choose one option of any number given, then you either use a radio button between all of the options, and only one of them can ever be turned on, or you use a drop-down that lists all of the options, and again, you can only ever choose one. The advantage of a drop-down is that it saves space. The disadvantage is that it hides the options. So if it's an answer you really want a good answer, if it's a question you want a good answer to, you'd probably be better off using radio buttons so that you're sure that people have at least given a cursory glance to all the options. It's often why "how did you hear about us" almost always has a drop-down. Sort of an implicit assumption that's going to be a random answer, so it doesn't really matter. So ordinarily you want to list choices vertically, because that's the way that people read a list of options, hence the word list. Avoid drop-downs for important ones, for the reason that we've just discussed. Where there is, say this was a checkbox or a radio button, and this is the label associated with it, for accessibility reasons, if I click the name, this should state change. So the checkbox would tick or untick if I had clicked the name. That's because you're requiring quite a high level of motor skills, particularly if you think about, physically disabled or elderly people who haven't got the steadiest of hands, to hit quite a small checkbox or quite a small radio button. It's easier to hit the writing. So that's why it's considered good practice to allow clicking the label to do the state change in here as well. And you want a confirmed choice with OK button or a submit button or a send button at the bottom of a form. Obviously, what you do not want is a clear all button or a cancel button that clears everything, because people will click it by mistake, thinking it's the confirm button, and they'll have to fill the thing in again. And if you're unlikely to get someone filling in a form once, you're even less likely to get them to fill it in the second time, because your stupid web design just made me clear everything. People bear grudges about stuff like that.